Welcome to our 5 on 5. Pleased to welcome in Camila Thorndike, an Ashland High School grad, a master's candidate in public administration, and a Bacon Environmental Fellow at Harvard's Kennedy School. Good to see you. Welcome back.
Nice to see you again, Craig.
Yeah, we did this about 5 years ago. So this is, you're doing a lot of things right now, so we thought it'd be cool to check in since you're home for the holidays. I guess first off, what are you doing at Harvard right now?
So I'm there to study economics, law, public policy, everything that goes into trying to tackle this monumental existential threat of climate change, which involves passing laws and then enforcing them so we can transition to clean energy.
I know that's something you've worked with local organizations in doing that as well. Is there a possibility of you getting into public policy on the politician side as you begin your career and get started?
Well, I've always loved working at the state level because that's where we can make change right now. And it's such an honor to come back here where all of my climate activism really started. And I'm excited to support the organizations that are carrying the torch forward.
And so how did you get interested in climate change? Is this something that you've been passionate about since you were like in high school or pre-high school, or is it just something that came to you in college?
Yeah, so when I was about 15, I started noticing these graphs of climbing temperatures and pollution that were more and more people were connecting the dots, that if we didn't take action to stop the use of fossil fuels, within my lifetime, I would be facing really difficult choices about where to live based on whether there's too many forest fires or floods or spread of infectious diseases, and then what I would do in terms of having children. And that was when it really hit home that this wasn't some future issue. This was something that was going to affect my life and my peers and those who would come after. And it's borne out to be true. I mean, we've seen incredibly devastating environmental change here in the Rogue Valley, and it's influencing a lot of our decisions as young people looking where to make a life.
Yeah, and as you before you went back east and went to school there, you did work with local organizations here and statewide. How has that helped you as you've gone back east and continued your education?
Yeah, so when I was here in 2014, I was very lucky to join with a bunch of old high school grad friends and volunteers here, retirees. We did a project that involved hundreds and actually over 1,000 people in the Rogue Valley. Here in Medford, we created a giant salmon out of individual pieces of decorated cardboard tiles to express our concern about climate change and what we loved about living in the Rogue Valley. And that was sort of the start of several movements here. We took that salmon up to Salem and advocated for the climate policy that's still waiting to be passed that I'll talk about. And the great work of Rogue Climate and the No LNG export movement also grew out of that moment. So trying to stop the largest source of climate pollution in Oregon, which would be this export terminal that is up to Governor Brown and the state agencies to decide whether or not to go forward.
Okay, well, we got a lot more to talk about, including that. We'll take a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Ashland High School grad Camila Thorndike, getting your master's at Harvard's Kennedy School. We're talking a lot about climate, obviously a passion of yours and something I assume you're going to go into a career in. What's your reaction when people refer to climate change as a, quote, debate?
It's a spin tactic from the fossil fuel industry, which is the most powerful, richest industry that's ever existed on Earth. And the fact is that they control a lot of the information that's reaching people who might not have the scientific background to know. But I always think about how intuitive this is. If you think about the whole world as sort of a body, you can only pump so much poison into the system before you get sick. And fossil fuels and the pollution they cause are poisonous. And we're running a fever, like temperatures going up. And we know that. There's less snowpack on Mount Ashland. There's huge fires in the summer that are stretching into year-round cycles in California, and that's going to happen here. There's less water. We know that we've made our world less healthy and why that's happening. And so you don't need to have a PhD to understand that you got to stop putting poison into the system to live a healthy life.
What are some ways that regular people like you or I can make a difference? Is it something simple like carpooling or buying certain products, or what do you recommend for people to? Because obviously we're talking about massive change on a scale across humanity.
Yeah.
What could we do?
There's so many small decisions we can make about whether, we drive too much or what products we buy. I think the most important decision we can make is to get involved in our civic communities and become more politically aware and engaged. And the most important thing we can do is vote, and to vote for candidates who are standing up for the climate, standing up for kids, standing up for our own future. Because under this presidential administration, we've had over 90 environmental protections rolled back. And that's really simple stuff, like, are there neurotoxins in the drinking water that your kids, are drinking every day? Are there more particulates in the air that cause degenerative brain diseases? Are there regulations that mean our cars are burning way more gasoline than they need to? All those changes that were going in the right direction have been gone in reverse. So we really need to get engaged, support organizations like the Movement Voter Project that are really focusing on swing states right now. And on the local level, on February 11th, go to Salem. If I were going to be here, I would join the largest climate day of action in Oregon's history and push our legislators to listen to our communities instead of corporations and pass a clean energy jobs bill. And the second thing I do is ask Governor Brown early 2020, when new state permits come out for the Jordan Cove LNG export terminal, to turn them down, because that's a dangerous fossil fuel that could push our Earth really over the brink, and we don't need it here.
Yeah, a lot of people are frustrated she has not taken a position either way on this matter.
Right.
Okay, great to see you. Thanks very much for taking the time while you're in town.
All right.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.